All right, man, we're recording. Are you ready to hit the ground running?
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, remind me just real quick. I know you're like a power lifter, right? And you hold
Mhm.
hold records or what's?
Yeah, I squat 981 pounds to 216 pounds, and then I pull roughly the same at the same body weight, so 216 pounds.
You're a power lifter.
Yes, sir.
All right, good thing because we didn't have to open it. You ready to get going?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go, my friend. Thanks for joining me tonight.
No problem.
All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Diaries of Masculine Men, where we dive deep into the topic of all things that are related to men. Now, today I've got a special guest. Now, he's a power lifter with incredible records that I'll let him discuss in a minute. But the reason that I've invited this particular guest on this show is because of his profound knowledge about PEDs, which are performance enhancing device drugs, which are essentially anabolic steroids. And we're going to discuss the anabolic pathway. Now, all things said, neither of us are here to promote the use or disuse of drugs. We are just here to have an open conversation to provide you with education in the event that you want to do this. Because what I'm seeing on my end of the deal, and I'm sure my esteemed guest will agree, there are a lot of people out there that get bad information, and B, they take a bunch of shit they don't need and they fuck themselves up in the process. So we're going to spend some time talking about what steroids are, how they work, how they affect the body, and then we will also maybe talk about what would be a good starting protocol, if you were trying to get on testosterone when you're wanting to do a show or something. So all things said, I would like to go ahead and introduce my friend Forrest. Forrest, how you doing, buddy?
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good, man. I'm really, like I said, people don't realize that we're on different time zones here, so I appreciate you
Yeah,
just
it's kind of crazy.
taking the time out of your day. So go over those records that you were telling me about your bench, squat, and deadlift, man. They're pretty impressive.
So I suck at bench. I just say it out there. I bench 502, but I do squat 981 pounds at 216 pounds raw, and I pull the exact same at a 216 pounds. So I have a I've graduated from Cornell University with a PhD in organic chemistry, and I know a thing or two about ped use and optimizing it. I guess you will, as you will.
Okay, I guess. Well, where would you even say? Where do we begin? I mean, do we start by just laying out like the anabolic family tree, begin it that way, explain what they are? I mean, what is a steroid?
I mean, for me, like, well, steroids, in my opinion, are almost something a little bit of science mixed with a little bit of myth is what I always say, because there's always some mythological magic that comes with these compounds. I feel like, or when I get clientele or individuals that are looking to seek knowledge from me, I see a lot of that. They try and mystify a lot of the drugs, but the facts are they're just supplements, just like creatine, just like your protein. Like it's just the same thing. It's just certain athletes use them to enhance performance and they're given field, and others are not allowed to.
Yeah.
Plain and that's the way I take it. That's my approach. It's there's not going to be no flash. There's no mystique. I'm gonna try and get rid of the whole fog.
Yeah, there's just I see it too often where there's this misconception. People think that they can jump on these cycles and not put in the work and get the benefit. Like, they can shoot up however many milligrams of test, sit on the couch, not go to the gym, and then they think they're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, is that the case? Is that how they work?
I would very much so disagree, because the fact of the matter is, like, I mean, it's just like creatine. If you see a guy eating a bunch of creatine on a couch, is he going to get fit? Probably not. Do drugs in their categories help? Absolutely. But if you're not willing to put in the work, it's not going to really be to your benefit. And even so, even more so, when you're putting in the work and you don't put in your, the time and effort it takes to learn about these compounds, you're shooting yourself in the foot, essentially, because you'd be demystifying and you'd be as just as, you know, um, collected and well together as we are, I guess you could say. I mean, I feel like sometimes people have these grandiose uh, goals, and they think that just because they pop a few Anadrol, it's going to make a world of difference. Well, I hate to burst your bubble. That's not the case.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. For me, what I hear about the miracle drug that everyone always vied for, that they always felt like because they didn't have it, is growth hormone.
Yeah,
Now, I was a competitive bodybuilder. I've since retired, so I will admit I have done growth hormone. And based on the amount, the money you spend and the benefit you get from it, like I would rather do something like Samorlin, which is a peptide. I felt like I got better effects from that than dropping, thousands of dollars on, a couple IUs of growth hormone every day. It was just an expensive drug that I just didn't feel like the return I got on it was worth the investment I put into it. Did I see an impact? Absolutely. But it just wasn't as miracle-ish as I thought it was going to be, like the missing link that would make me Jay Cutler, if that made sense.
exactly. And I feel like that's a lot of people think that way. They think it's just some mystical magic thing that's going to happen, and that's not how it works. And or even good point, you're bringing up growth hormone, right? People talk about growth hormone and AAS is in the same realm, and they're not even in the same category of drug.
Yeah, you
They
want
don't work the same
to,
way
yeah, you want
at
to
all.
explain the difference for the audience so they understand. I mean,
Yeah, so like when
no
you're talking
shit
about
about
like when you're talking about like pro like or I'll backtrack a little bit.
it.
So, can I get this is a personal pet peeve. If you take SARMs, don't say they convert to anabolic steroids in the body. They don't do that. That's why they're SARMs.
Yeah,
Precursors like beforehand, pro hormones, pro drugs, which would end up becoming an active substance of a banned drug inside the body. That's that's what they're kind of thinking of, and I think that they take that knowledge that they learned with pro hormones and they put it on SARMs, and that can be that's they don't work that way. Long as very very layman's terms of breaking it down, SARMs just are selective androgen receptor modulators. They do what they're supposed to do. They just go straight to the androgen receptor and excite it and make and help. Pro drugs imitate other drugs once they get past the body, and they're usually C17 alpha alkylated. So they're usually that means they just have to pass through the first like through your liver first, and it increases its survivability. You can do that one of two ways: um, C17 alpha alkylated or methylated, and that's a long discussion for another day. But moving on, like one converts to anabolic steroids in the body, one actually just excites the receptor in and of itself. It actually is the drug itself, and I think that confusion kind of
yeah, and I think that what people don't realize is there are a variety of receptor sites. You got your 19 Nors, your 17 alpha alphas. You got.
yeah
I mean, often what I see from my perspective when I'm looking at people's steroid cycles, which sometimes it's just a look. I don't often I'll give guidance on it. I try to stay neutral about it. Not
yeah
because I'm against the reform, it's just I'm not going to be responsible for someone doing something stupid. But they'll sit there and stack.
because when one is good, two is better.
Yeah, they'll stack like equipoise, D-ball, whatever, three different compounds on the same receptor site when they could, between the five of them, spread it out, get a 19 nor, 17 alpha alpha, the test base, spread
Yeah,
out the use of the receptors in the brain. You can use fewer doses on your compound, like less of it, and get a better effect than, doing 1,000 of tests, freaking, several hundred of anadrol.
yeah. Not
Equipoise.
even including the esters. Like they don't. Most people don't even know what their ester chains are. They're putting like propionate, cypionate, and ananthate at the same time. And they're like, oh well, ananthate and cypionate are kind of close. Yeah, they don't. They don't work that way.
Yeah.
Especially, and if we're talking even propionate, acetate, we're talking about all these ester chains. When does it hit the bloodstream? When is it going to peak? Have you thought about when you're going to peak all these drugs at the same time, or are you going to peak them in different peaks and troughs and valleys later on down the road? Have you thought about that? Those kinds of things. People aren't talking about that.
Well, my co-host was not able to join me, but his name is Alan. And so I met Alan because I do hormone replacement for a living, and he came in with low tests. There's several tests out there to use, but we used the standard where his blood or his tests and his blood level came out back at 103, which is clinically low. So it
Yeah.
qualified for him to go on testosterone therapy. So I started him out at 150 milligrams once a week. and it brought his test up to, 5 or 600. So I bumped him up to about 200 milligrams over, this is over like 8 to 10 weeks, to where now
Yeah.
he's at about 900. He's functioning well.
Hmm.
Now with that 200 milligrams of test, this guy has gone to the gym. Now, mind you, he got a coach. He hired Chris, so he's got his dieting plan, he's got his workout plan, and this guy's like a trooper. He follows the T. On 200 milligrams of test, this guy has lost 33 pounds, dropped like I don't even know how much body fat. He has 19-inch arms. So a lot of it's genetic
Damn.
too. But like I just like to share the story to highlight like you can get a good response on something as simple as a test only cycle or something that's managed as a TRT base. You don't have to go crazy with these supplements. Would you agree?
No, I agree 100%.
Well,
Less
how
is
what
more
do
in
you
that
think?
case.
What do you say? I mean, the dieting and the hard work is what's really going to make or break you.
For the most part, yeah. And if people just put in more knowledge and time into analyzing what they truly need for like equipoise is a good drug for cutting as well because it can create this grainy vascular, very similar to like a master. So it gives it this very, very, very grainy, hard look. But you're not going to see that unless you diet and do the right things. Will it help you? Absolutely. Does 2,000 milligrams of it need, is that necessary? Not really. No.
Yeah.
And people laugh because my cycle is a joke. It's 600 milligrams of test a week and 600 milligrams of EQ.
That's what you do.
It's been this cycle for 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Nothing crazy,
yeah,
nothing insane, nothing that's hepatotoxic, nothing that's going to end up because the whole point is recovery. My goal is to just it's strength. Everybody thinks it's this fast, you know, climb. No, slow climb
yeah,
because joints, tendons, those kinds of things have to keep up too. And you're dabbling in a world where everybody's like, oh, pets, all this is going to be great, and I'm like, but we still don't understand how it works on the joints and tendons and all those connective tissues that are required in my, especially in my sport, to be able to lift and be successful long term, not just ooh, I'm going to be bright light, cool, that's awesome, and now I'm in a wheelchair
yeah. See,
or
well,
with a slew of health problems to boot. And if and people can roast me or whatever, but if you're on a bunch of stuff and you don't think there's repercussions for doing so, you are delusional.
yeah, agreed. I'm a poster child for having done it what I would consider the wrong way looking back. This is 1998 when I entered the scene of bodybuilding. And so there's no internet, there's no way to get this mass amount of information out about these topics. You had muscle mags to look at.
Yeah,
When I was first introduced to it, but by the age of 24, I went from, well, when I was 19, I was 171 pounds. By 24, I was like 250 something. But my muscles and tendons weren't growing, the tendon didn't grow as fast as the muscle group, and which caused a pectoral rupture. Then,
yeah,
and it also caused avascular necrosis, which is the cartilage, the articular cartilage that's at the top of the humerus that causes the padding. So you're not rubbing bone on bone. Well, that degenerated, which caused, osteoarthritis and degenerative arthritis, to where I had to have a shoulder replacement. You get a shoulder replacement, guess what? You're not benching 400 or 500 pounds anymore,
factoids.
the way. And so, and on top of that, it also affected my ability to have children. Now, do I regret some of my choices? No. I mean, I was Sam Sulek before Sam Sulek was Sam Sulek. I mean, that's how big I was at 22. I mean,
Yeah,
but being 44 now, I'm in great shape, but my arms aren't 22 inches anymore. But,
no,
I wonder at the end of the day, sometimes, was it really worth it? Was it worth not having kids? Was it worth having a shoulder that I can't raise high enough to wash my hair now? I get by in the gym, but I'll never be that guy that's jacked again. And so I do question it. And that's why I try to advise the audience, and the other thing too is I wonder if some of my mental health disorders are related to the fact that I started messing with the neurochemistry at 19 years of age, doing tests, DECA, D-ball, you name it, man. We just go from Japan to Thailand, pick it up, bring it back. It was
yeah,
it was that easy, man. And so I run and gun and I don't even, I think I just there was no such thing as a cycle. I think I just stayed on, I just fucking
yeah.
lasted, no
Blast
food.
and cruise, man. I don't know how many people I get that just blast and cruise year round, including myself. That's not not a knock at me. I treat myself as my own lab rat. So if some people are like, oh well, you should try this, I'm like, okay, we'll see how this works.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other and because the efficacy of it isn't necessarily so mainstream to where I can actually perform research with people. That's the issue. That ends up being conflict of interest, and there's a lot of, you understand how it is, jumping through hoops for research and that kind of
So
stuff. It's
do you watch a lot of YouTube, or are you familiar with like a lot of the personalities out there, like Sam Sulik or Toji, or I can't think of the other names, but there are a lot of young guys out there that are jacked on testosterones and they're promoting testosterones. And that said, what would be your take on how that is influencing the younger generation?
I think a lot of the younger generation really wants to get in and wants to get strong and get strong fast. Everybody's, I want information, I want results, I want results now. It's never changed. It hasn't changed in your lifetime, my lifetime, or the lifetime after me. It's but we have to become smarter. Does a 17-year-old need testosterone? In my professional opinion, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Does a now we take a now uh, this is where we kind of come into a crux, because if you go to any, I won't name countries, but their sports program, Olympic program, right? Those kids and their jobs are to perform and to be athletes. If we had a program like that here in the States, there wouldn't be an Olympics because we'd win every single time.
Yeah.
So you have to think about all of that work that one individual went into and that kind of stuff, and they're only here and we're here, and that person has a day job.
Yeah.
So how is that so? Is it just because of the disproportionate wealth, or is there's other things going on? And with all due respect, like the way I see it, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck. It's because they just have better things. Kids get into things. I understand that, but I understand. All right, I'm gonna go a little bit. I can understand an 18-year-old smoking a doobie,
Yeah.
but I can't understand an 18-year-old sticking himself in the quad with a freaking needle. That
Yeah.
don't make no sense to me. Well,
Not,
with what? Well, what aspirations? I can understand a kid who needs to go to college, who has to perform. But if you do that, you already know you're getting tested. That
yeah.
would just shoot yourself in the foot. That's pointless. That doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah. You
You
know,
know, it,
I
having proper training and that kind of stuff is far better than just, and it is, and though it's anecdotal and I don't have any evidence to prove like youths versus, geared kids versus that will never go versus, normal kids, that's not going to happen
yeah.
because there's no need, and you're
Well,
not going to see a huge increase either.
no, because your natural production levels are already in the 900 and 1,000.
Already dumb.
You don't need a damn shot for it. You're already producing higher than what I'm working at. You know,
Yeah,
and I'm building muscle just fine at 44. So if your numbers are higher than me, it means you're not training and eating right. It's not because
exactly. If you need gear to train and you're 18, you're not training hard enough. Be
yeah,
honest with you.
I get
That's
people
being frank. That's
all the time that ask what kind of cycle I'm on, and I do a TRT one. I do like three tests, one a mass, and 75 a deca. I mean, literally, it's just for joints,
yeah,
and it's not much, but it keeps me in the same shape. I'm about 220 pounds at about 9% body fat, which is
yeah.
fine with me, you
Yeah,
know.
and using the 19 Norse for the joints makes sense. That totally makes
Yeah,
sense why
'cause
you
the
throw in that
shoulder,
for the joints.
yeah, and I don't go too high
Or
on it.
MPP, pick your poison.
Yeah,
Just aspartame.
while we got here, I don't really know much of the difference between test and NPP. I had someone asked me recently.
See, I actually prefer MPP because I feel like nandrolone freedom propionate, when you can kind of get off the bandwagon a little bit. Sometimes, like with really long ester chains, like equipoise, it being, well, boulder it being so long, some people don't like to ride the long train, and I'm like, I prefer it, but there's others that are like with nandrolones. I prefer a short ester because I like having the control,
Yeah.
because I can control it in the bloodstream a little bit better. And as a decanate, Decadent has a weird tendency of kind of like releasing here a lot here and a little here, and it's just as an ester, personally, I don't like it. I like phenylpropionate ester because it balances bloods more, and I can show you evidence on that one. I'll send you an email
Yeah, that would be great.
because on with the way the decanate ester works, it I feel like sometimes it either lets it all out at once. It's kind of weird. It's a weird, and I don't know how it happens. I don't know why, but bloods don't lie.
Yeah.
So like when I see these huge peaks and troughs, and I'm like, huh. After like 2 weeks, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it do that?
Mhm.
But I
So,
think it's because of but maybe everybody's metabolism is different. But I feel like with the long ester chains, the longer it sits, I feel like the quicker the dispersion at the tail end, it tends to like just dump it all off at once,
yeah,
as opposed to like being everybody thinks it's like precision based, and it's not. Not chemistry doesn't work.
yeah.
Sometimes a little bit gets broken up here and a little gets broken up
So,
here.
if someone's getting those big peaks like you're talking about, doesn't that just increase their risk for side effect? Like if they,
Yeah. So some people that have like get like intimacy, so they have issues with but with that, I feel like that doesn't typically happen right off the bat. It happens 2, 3 weeks later, but they end up getting hit with it. It's not like it's all built up. It's just what happened was they got smacked with it. That's why some people do well and some people don't.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it's delivery. That's the reason why.
Yeah, and when you see a bad case of gynecomastia, you don't miss it, man. You know, they're doing
Well,
all,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, as you're like, I mean, and like as an Ambrose, like it's pretty like E1's pretty easy to estradiol is pretty easy to like knock off because you can drop those levels with letrozole for the
yeah.
most part if you really had to. But with other things, I'm like with some of the nandrolones, sometimes you can't even combat the gyno. Like let's go in an extreme case, ment, because I get a lot of people who are like, oh,
Can you
you
please explain
know,
what mint is for the audience?
ment is like how do I say it? It's a weird drug in general. It was used as a male contraceptive back in the day. That's what its intended purpose was. But people are like, oh yeah, I love like testolone. Trestolone, which is what this compound is a whole different freaking ballgame. Like it can literally make you not have kids forever,
Wow,
permanently.
wow.
Yeah. So there, but the other thing is, people are like, "Oh, legal alternatives and that kind of stuff." Met is 100% legal. You can go wherever you want. Be my guest
Yeah,
because it's not scheduled. Because I love the United States of America, but sometimes with their scheduling and their drugs, it's very interesting what they pick and choose.
agreed. Agreed. Especially when something like Norandel and Decadent can be used for joint therapy. It's a banned item that I've had plenty of doctors that said, if I could, I'd write it for you because I believe in the drug, but I can't. So I can give you TB 500 or BP 5157.
Exactly. BPC, well, 157. Yeah,
It works. It
it's
works.
fantastic.
It is effective. What would be your take on, say, the drug Trembolone?
Uh, Trembolone in my case is so hepatotoxic. Like it's versus reward. If you're trying to look good on a stage, great bodybuilding drug, great job to harden up the physique. Right about four between weeks 4 and 6, and then switch to Masteron and really drive everything up because it does. But and it will make your workouts amazing. For me, I prefer to have instead of having a really good workout and then be completely tanked the next, I would rather have steady gains. So I would rather just maintain and be able to recover. That's why I like EQ and test so much, is because when it comes down to recovery, I feel like EQ is slept on so hard because it it is over. It is if you ride it for 6 weeks, I always tell people, ride it for 12 weeks and then tell them and then come back to me. And
Yeah,
they always do. They're like, this is a miracle, bro. I love this stuff. I'm like, because it works and it doesn't feel like it's doing it has some anxiety things, but that's because people are ridiculous. And the last person I talked to about using it used like damn near 2.5 grams. other stuff at the time, and I just used 6 and 6
Yeah,
year round.
yeah, that's a hell of a lot.
But with Trembolone, the thing about EQ is it's nowhere near as hepatotoxic or even toxic at all compared to Trembolone, because Trembolone take your kidneys out so fast and make your head spin.
Yeah, I also noticed a distinct change in my behavior and mood when I'm on Timbalone.
Yeah.
It's very neurotoxic, toxic as well.
Hmm.
So let's move on. So what is your take on let's see what I just brain fart. I was thinking of a drug I was really interested in talking about. It'll come back to me. But let's say that you got a guy who has trained his ass off. He set a
Yeah.
good foundation. He's trained, so he's demonstrated consistency, dedication, eating right. He's on
Hmm.
that. He wants to take that next step. Do you devise a program for him based on the lowest amount possible? Or are you going medium? Do you go high? I mean, what considerations do you take in place when you're writing someone's protocol? Are you worried about their blood type? Do you worry about like, I mean, what considerations are you looking at?
Most of the considerations that I think of when I look at those types of like athletes is I actually care more about their volume or their training volume typically, because I've seen a correlation in terms of volume with ped use, because volume has more of an effect on the tearing down of muscle tissue. And that's the thing I'm trying to recover from. So I try and focus on the recovery aspect more so than just directly focusing on like what drugs would make this athlete strong. I think of how can I build my foundation so strong to where I can put whatever I want on it later on down the road and it's not going to break.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a very good point. So, yeah, Um, are there any, I mean, do you get people that come up and approach you for this stuff and you just outright turn them down and say, no, this
All
is,
the time.
yeah, yeah,
Literally, I'm like, go away. Don't even, because you're going to, don't, they're wasting their time, not necessarily mine, but their time, because they haven't figured it, like, they haven't gone about doing their own research and knowing what works for them first, then come find me.
yeah,
And then so you're like, oh man, I really, really hate Masteron. This drives me nuts. Oh, all right. Well, what about Proviron? They're in the same freaking class. They roll in the same kind of realm, but Proviron binds SHBG, which frees up our test. So I might get the same hardening effect,
yeah, you
even
get,
though that because that drug doesn't work well on him, but Proviron does.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they're in the same class. They're DHCs.
yeah. And when you say that everybody responds differently to the drug, but their body growth, the way they feel and uh,
Mm-hmm.
results in general, like no two people are the same. Like you can't take person A and give them this protocol, person B and give the same protocol, and except to get the same approach from both people. They'd be different, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Right. So
I try and it's usually client by client basis. I usually end up bringing people on. I'm like, hey, okay, this if this works for you. I've had clients that you look at them, you're like, man, they're like identical, and then you're like, their compounds are completely different,
yeah,
and it's because their bodies are different. That's just their chemistry in their body. That's just like people think like and joke around and like for me, I drink a lot of lemonade. Right? Seems weird, right? It seems like normal or whatever. Or like, oh, maybe we're less, but that also makes my entire body's chemistry more acidic
yeah, yeah, yeah,
by doing so. So I have to think about those things,
yeah.
and that matters.
Other people have to think about, they run the risk. Some people of getting high hematocrits where they have to come over therapeutic phlebotomies. I mean, all sorts
Hmm.
of side effects. And we talk about gyno, and then there's other drugs that deal with the prolactin, like cabergoline.
Yeah, really.
I mean, have you ever in your time competed and used so much uh, enhancing drugs because you needed to get this the weight you needed that you had to take things to mitigate sides?
I have played all the crazy games before, and mitigating because you can't really. I felt like you couldn't really give advice to somebody if you've never done. So I was like, well, let's go ridiculous. So in 2015, I'd used my cycle was pretty extensive. It was downright ludicrous, and I would recommend that for anybody or anything ever, ever.
Yeah.
But at the time, even I had a, I'll come back to this. This will come full circle because Ment is incredibly Tressalon in general. People are like, oh man, wow, it's ridiculous anabolic androgenic ratio, and then they take it and they're like, holy crap, the estrogen is insane. And by the way, it's the only anabolic you can take and not run testosterone. You
Really
do not have to run testosterone with Ment. No,
incredible. I did not know that.
it's insane. It is a very weird. It is in a class of its own. I
You-
would say if you
you-
want to get giant and absolutely piss strong, just put a bunch of that in your quads, and you can literally lift the world. To be honest with you, because it will make you piss strong. It will make you very, very, very emotional, probably because its estrogen conversion rate is insane. I knew people that were taking letrozole like 2.5, like about a 2.5 milligram tab every day, and still
Wow.
couldn't combat the
Wow.
gyno.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
to that degree. I'm not even close to kidding you. I have pictures. If pictures aren't it ain't real. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
definitely.
I've experimented with Mint myself, just trying it. I tried it for about 3 weeks and put 100 pounds on my bench press and said, nope.
Wow. That would be very addictive. Like for
It
me.
was very, I was like, nope, this is the one that I'm not going to use
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Today. And I was like, and it literally it sits in my refrigerator like I have a sealed dealio, and it literally sits there and it says nope.
Yeah. See, that's good that you have control over those type of things, you
Yeah,
know?
but you also like people like if you some people are like, oh yeah, Tremblone's great. I'm like, that is baby on the scale of like what is out there, because I've heard of things like people people don't even know about Sheck drops or kind of like 80s compounds kind of things. And I'm like, that's the trend. That's like your dad's trend, and they're like, no way. And they'll go up and powerlifters are it's been toted. Powerlifters try it because it's aggressive. It helps with aggression, and it's used to kick female dogs out of heat in its real life version,
Wow.
what it's used for. So when they take it, I mean, Mike Tyson bit Holyfield's ear off on it.
Yeah, figure. Yeah. Yeah. I can say in high doses it does affect my personality. And I try to warn people that want to go down this journey, if I so do decide to fuck with them, is it will forever change your personality. It'll ever change the way you look at the world and how you
Yep,
act. This is a life altering, no going back choice you are about to make.
very true. I would agree with it. The mental aspect, absolutely.
Yeah. And then there runs the risk of addiction. You don't want to give up the gains. You don't want to lose out
Yeah,
on things. You just want to go, 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 go. I remember my goal for body weight was 200. Then it was 225. Then it was 230. Then it was 240. It never stopped. Like every time I thought
yeah,
I'd get there, I just take it further, further. And
yep.
in the military, in the Marine Corps, in the summertime, they have to roll up their sleeves. It's part of what they do. I had to get a big
Hmm.
authorization from General Francis E. Williams to have my uniform altered because my arms were 21 inches big and that cuff was only 16 inches. So they wouldn't fit over my biceps. And
Yeah.
thankfully, my commander knew what was up, but he didn't give a shit because I was a stellar Marine winning fucking every fitness test possible in the world.
Oh
So
yeah.
he turned a blind eye to it, but I'm not telling freaking service members to go out and get jacked. But yeah. And then there's really the component that I've also found that when people are using steroids, it fundamentally changed them as a person in the sense that I found a lot of people become arrogant and cocky. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
with the aggression of the use of testosterone and things like that, it heightens or enhances that quality that they already had.
Yeah, to more degree, I always say if you have a short fuse, it makes a shorter fuse.
Yeah, yeah. So are you got any meets coming up that you're going to be training for?
I'm just for now I'm planning on a possibly May, but I want to do it super raw, so I don't want to lift with a belt, no wraps, no anything.
Yeah, just so our audience can find you, do you mind sharing your social media? stuff with them?
I'm a weirdo and I don't really social media.
Gosh, how are we supposed to follow you when you do these crazy
I
lists?
know it's a freaking sad, sad place. I really don't.
You at least
I don't really
you at
social
least take
at
pictures for
all.
your own sake of like doing it.
It's literally Forest Bush. I know that sounds awful. Just 2 hours.
Okay, man.
That's me.
Yeah, I just want to yeah, so,
If you shoot me a DM, I will probably say hey, and I'm pretty nice.
yeah,
So
yeah, incredible.
I try not to social too much. I just do a government job, so I
Yeah,
try
yeah,
I
yeah,
try and be there's so much people in the comment section always end up yelling and screaming at each other, and I'm like, we're all Americans here, and we're all, trying to do the right thing.
yeah,
And I'm just trying, and I'm a part of the group, so I don't want to like I always hate being that guy who just
yeah.
it's just never been me.
So, what's your take on young children and steroids? Would you speak up to them and tell them that they shouldn't be doing it, or
Yeah,
would you just,
like put the shit down.
yeah,
You shouldn't mess with those kinds of things, especially being that young. I mean, I made it to Worlds as a 17-year-old. I squatted 733 at 198 pounds, and I was well underweight.
wow,
So you can
yeah,
ask Caleb Williams about that. That's moved my old coaches. If boy, you guys are great, like love weightlifting or that kind of stuff, you'll know who I'm talking about because he's an animal.
yeah. Now, how old are you? I forgot.
I was seven. I'm 33 right now.
Okay, so you're still pretty young, so you really don't necessarily have the need to go be tested to have TRT and stuff like that done. Yeah,
Nope.
we started probably producing just fine. For me, when I hit my 40, my test production lowered, and I went on the TRT from them, and I kind of add a little bit extra for my own personal gain. So
Mhm.
it's what makes you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does make you feel good. That is the one thing. People who have low T and they actually get on testosterone, and I'm like, man, it is a whole different human being.
Yeah, like
Really is.
night and
Huge
day,
difference. Get
especially
tested, gentlemen, all of you.
yeah, especially if you take testosterone and you couple it with activity and exercise. Not
Facts.
just take the shot, but do something with it. Like incorporate a lifestyle change to where you're working out. So, that's quite interesting. So let me ask, what turned you on to this endeavor? I mean, you're so knowledgeable about it. Like what piqued your interest to become and get the PhD that you have?
I'm kind of a weirdo, so I come from a place. I'm an orphan. I don't really have like mom, dad, kind of like kids, that kind of stuff. I don't have any kids. I don't have like that. I've just been very driven, and I left home real early, so I ended up having to kind of fall in every pit hole. And when you do that, you just so have it just happens that you end up either you meet the right people or you meet the wrong people. And I thank God that I met the right people.
Yeah, so you got a good social circle.
Yeah, you are who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with I hate saying this, and I don't like using the word losers, but if you surround yourself with a bunch of losers, you're going to become one of them.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
if you surround yourself with people that you look up to and you try to be, one day you'll either be them or you'll be damn close, or you'll be something you never even expected, which is kind of like what I am. I did not see me being and doing what I do now,
Yeah,
being who I was.
that's where I got lucky. Chris Martin found me when I was young and took me under his wing. It hasn't led me astray, and we've been friends for 32 years,
Yeah,
so it works out
still
well.
kicking, still loving it,
Yeah,
still grinding, still trying to lift.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
the same.
His body's giving him a little bit of trouble, but he's still trying to keep up with those young bucks. I
It's
say,
okay. He tortures me. He tortures me every Monday and Wednesday.
he does he?
Yeah, we had a leg day the other day, and he put me through the ringer, man. We did these drop sets, and then I decided that I was like, you know what? I can't let Chris get one up on me, so I'm a squat. That was embarrassing, almost. I did squat six. I squatted 605. Oh no, what's a 660? No, it was 675. 675, no belt, no wraps after a leg day, and we had done like I think he put on like 8 plates and had me do like sets of like 8 or 12 or the control negative, 3 second negative. and then we just did drop sets, and he would just take a plate off every single time.
8 plates. Wow.
It
That's a
was awful. And then he made me do 50 at when we had like two plates on. He was like, "I'll just knock out 50." He's
Jesus.
like, "Because I know I'm an Arthur Jones guy, so I like one long miserable set
Yeah.
and then just call it good." Like
I,
people are like, "Leg days with you are awful. There's only like 4 or 5 sets, but they are long."
yeah. He's sadistic when it comes to the gym. Like
He is.
there are no easy days with Chris Martin. He trains you to
He's
the,
unique. That's for sure.
but he gives you good results though.
He does. He is by far and away. He
I
knows
have,
what he's doing.
I have no
Yeah,
doubt.
sometimes you just don't. You're just like, there's a guy who just knows. He's one of those guys you find on top of a mountain. You're like, oh, you must be the sensei.
Yeah, dude. He has taught
That's
me.
the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy he's training now out here, I have no doubt that this guy will pick up a pro card. Not this
Fact.
go first season, but once he gets on a cycle, then Chris rewrites the training program. I'm pretty sure he's gonna, be
Yeah,
there. I'm gonna try to explain to him that when you go to the pro level, there's a whole other ball game than a regional or a state or, you're
yeah.
competing with the best of the
But
best.
then again, when you're groomed by guys like that, it helps.
Yeah,
Like honestly, having a hand in that and knowing what to expect, because it's better to know what to expect than go blindsided, right?
yeah, definitely.
Because how many horse races you hear people go in, they're like, I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Yeah,
I'm like, really? You really didn't? I'm like, to me and you, we're like, we knew what we were going into. They had no idea. And then so you always get those onesie twosies that are like that. And then that could derail your entire endeavor completely,
yeah.
especially as a coach. Because I've had people that are like, this is not for me.
Yeah. So, what would your advice be on someone who's cutting up for a show? What would be an effective adjunct to be using to decrease visceral fat? Really, I guess you'd say.
See, a lot of people bag on using. See, yeah, this comes back to my whole shtick. You don't need a lot of compounds. You just need a few compounds that do things well. Like they can flip flop. So, like for me, I really like using EQ early on, and then if you're talking about a bodybuilder and you're trying to make them look hard, you won't have to run trembling at all. Run EQ the full 12 weeks. Cut it off the last 4 before the show, and keep drostanolone on weeks 8 through 12, and
Okay.
you will see the hardest person you've ever met. And honestly, they if you really wanted to just like cut up even a little bit more, maybe titrating in 20 micrograms of clenbuterol, 20, 20, 40, like 20 to 40
Yeah.
microgram, and then back down.
Yeah.
And titration within like 2 weeks of show,
Yeah.
2 3 weeks,
That
because I don't like increasing people's blood pressure right before the show, because it's already kind of like rough on you, and the blood is like molasses, so that BP is probably stupid and it's not healthy. But getting people there, and I feel like that's where you see a lot of your bodybuilders getting heart attacks and that kind of stuff. They cut down and they take clen, and clen increases blood pressure, and that's what does them in right
yeah.
there.
I don't miss that computer all anymore. When I was younger.
Yeah, and
I
it's good all the way until 6 weeks before the show. If you're too fat 6 weeks before the show, you fucked up.
yeah, it's time to drop out and plan again.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're using Clan to cut the last 6 weeks because you decided to eat like crap, you ain't winning nothing, and you're gonna look like crap. You're gonna get exactly what you put into it for
Now,
sure.
where did you say that you're having your competition at?
It's gonna end up being in Cal. It was in California, but I don't know with all the fires, so that's why I'm like tentative. I
Nothing.
had a meet in January in LA, but currently it's on fire, so that's not happening.
Well, if you have any pictures of you at your prime, please share them with us.
Absolutely.
Put them up, and then I'll be able to impose them on the screen so people can actually see what you look like when you're not dressed and sitting behind Zoom conference call, but you can
Oh
see
yeah.
what you look like. That helps
Oh
uh,
yeah.
validate that you're not some talking head at the other end of the screen that's giving his opinion about shit he doesn't know he's talking about when he really do.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bullshit bro science out there. That's for damn sure.
That is very true. Yeah, I'm very off the cuff. I'm pretty nonchalant, but honestly, there's a lot of bro science that I'm like, I don't know why you'd listen to that person.
Yeah.
Like, why would you take advice from why would you take a critique from somebody you wouldn't take advice from? That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as like a dig. I mean that as like a why why if somebody is gonna come in there and tell you to take this, and this, you're gonna be like magic, you're gonna be Magic Mike. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. And especially with some of the cycles I've heard are absurd. Like, I'm like, you have that much money to your pee is worth more than my car payment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. They've made a lot of money. That's for damn sure.
man, I mean, yeah, genotropin, soma.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and people are like, oh well, I'll just use, or like people even ipamorelin, like we'll just talk just regular your old peptides or IGF-1 LR3. They're like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, yeah. Problem is, you have to take like 3 of those a day. Like,
Yeah.
no way. I'm like, yes, yes way.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't afford that. Case in point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, are you familiar with the drug on the market, semaglutide or Wegovy or
Yeah,
what's your take on that?
it works
Yeah.
for lazy people. I know that sounds so harsh. I apologize. It is a very in my mind, in my way of thinking, it goes against everything that I think of. Why would you take a drug to help you lose weight when you really just need to get out there and get active and literally lose the weight? You've taught nobody anything. You've pushed. You've given them a drug. That's what you've done. Now you have a generation of people who are scared to be fat. Now you turn them into drug addicts, but physical addiction,
Yeah. It's,
because addiction is different. People are like, oh, well, people aren't addicted to it. I'm like, yes, they are. People like the way they look. You know,
look good naked.
my old lady don't go out with. She has hairspray. There's a reason. It's not. Is it an addiction? Yes, absolutely. Because she don't want her hair to look like shit. That's why.
Yeah. Well,
But like it's the same deal. We go back, and then people are like, "Oh well, I won't be as strong if I didn't do this." I'm like, but if you had gained the knowledge and training, you would have.
yeah.
Compound build. The whole point is to build on what you did last,
Yeah.
not
Would you be interested
deconstruct it.
in coming on episode part two where I can actually invite my man Alan, who just couldn't make it today on the
Yeah,
show?
dude, absolutely.
Because I really think he has a myriad of questions that are going to be good for the layperson to hear, but it'll also
Yeah.
benefit. Because I want him to make the smartest choice possible when
And I'll
he.
be better with my notes because I'm ADHD tough. I'm sorry I don't have my
Oh,
notes. I
that's
usually have
great. This has
a
been a
plethora of
great
notes.
talk tonight. So, do you want to try to plan this for like a week or two, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. Forrest, I thank you for your time. So,
Thank
everyone,
you so much.
Diaries of a Masculine Man. This is my man Forrest. So, we're going to stay tuned to do another episode where we give my mind time to prepare for this topic. I hit him at the last minute, so it's not his fault. But we'll take a deeper dive. So, today was just a superficial, glazed over approach as to what you can expect in the future episodes. Thanks once again for joining us. Thank you, Foster, and everyone. Have a good night. All right, buddy. We'll see you later.
See you later, man.
Bye.
Bye.